Our discussion is just getting started. To help break down why we can't put our phones down is Dr. Pamela Rutledge. She's a media psychologist with over 20 years in the media and tech world. Thanks for being with us.
Happy to be here.
So, oftentimes Facebook, Instagram, or other social media sites are really like the first thing that we check in the morning and the last thing before we go to bed. I have to put myself in that category. According to Media Kicks, 71% of people sleep with or next to their cell phones. So my question for you is, why are we so eager to check our accounts?
Well, we're eager to check our accounts. Let me say there's sort of 6 basic reasons. And one is that there are biological rewards to anything that gives us feedback, not just technology, but, running into people on the street, saying hi, eating a cookie. There's all kinds of things that give us a reward. But humans are fundamentally social animals, and that device represents a portal to your social world. So it's what's going on out there that's really drawing you in. That sense of social connection is a key to our mental health and well-being. It can enhance our self-esteem just by making us feel valued and included. Now, that being said, this all needs to be done with balance. But remember that when you pick up a phone, it isn't like watching, reading a magazine or a book or even television. It's interactive. You get to choose. So you get those kinds of rewards for your own agency and competence. And it's very rich media. It's moving. It's new. It's image. Image processes 60,000 times faster than text. So there's all this information coming in. And so I want people to understand that using a phone, using social media is not necessarily bad. And the measure should not be screen time. The measure should be what you're doing and what you're getting out of it, because there's a lot of information and learning.
I want to unpack that a bit more, because usually we hear, oh, it's the screen time. It's the screen time. You need to reduce how much time you're spending on your phone. And we're going to talk about that later in our hour. So why not measure by that and more so about what you're doing on the phone? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, sure. Now, obviously, it's like eating ice cream. If you do something 24 hours a day, that's not balanced, right?
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of evidence that, well, first of all, the research on screen time measures screen time in like a zillion different ways. So it's sort of useless in terms of trying to make sense out of it.
Okay.
But what we do know is that it isn't the quantity, it's what you're doing. Are you actively engaged? Are you learning? Are you connecting? Are you sharing? Or are you judging yourself against someone else? In other words, how are you using this tool? For a lot of people, myself included, part of my workday is on social media, watching trends, seeing news. That's not bad. That's a necessary part of my job. What's bad is if my brain wanders off and I'm tired and I spend the next hour looking at shoes.
Okay.
Right. And then at the end of that, I go, oh, I'm behind in my work. And so it's recognizing your patterns that's really helps you have a healthy relationship with technology.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, because I was like, that's something different that I haven't really heard. We had mentioned in the story that there's the dopamine, those hits that we get when we use social media, and are the same really that we would see, with drug addicts, which was pointed out by a source in that story. Can you paint a picture for us on what is going on in our head that makes us thirst for those likes and comments?
Well, yeah, sure. But I want to make it very clear. It isn't just social media that does that. Okay. Our body is hardwired to motivate us by giving us reward signals. And we feel it cognitively. We're aware of feeling good, but we also feel it physiologically, which is where the neurotransmitters come in. All kinds of things give us rewards. One of the most powerful rewards is social rewards, because we are fundamentally social creatures.
My last question for you, are Americans too dependent on social media? I know you're saying there are pluses and minuses, but just culturally, are we too dependent on it?
We are too dependent relative to the amount of critical thinking that's going on. Social media is a relatively new technology, and we are not used to getting information and triangulating it and using critical thinking. So it's very important for people to take responsibility for their consumption. Right. We think about a healthy diet. Media is the same way. We really need to have a healthy media diet, which means balance. I often recommend that people keep a media journal for a few days. Note down, how are you using it? How long are you there? How do you feel? So that you can identify your own consumption patterns that might be causing you to waste time or trouble. The other thing that I would say that's very important is that addiction needs to be diagnosed by a professional. However, if you feel that this is out of control, do seek professional help, because that really is the necessary step in dealing with addiction.
Okay, Dr. Pamela Rutledge, thank you again for joining us. Great insight as always.
My pleasure.